Lester and Ricky are the same person, and there's way more to it than that. I have a whole other theory about the movie that I want to get into, but we're going to get to that later. Right now, I want to focus on these two characters and why I think that they are the same person. Okay, so they're not literally the same person. It's not one of those theories, but what they are is two poles of the same character archetype. Let me explain a little bit. Ricky is the embodiment of freedom, and Lester sees Ricky almost like an idol. He sees the freedom that Ricky has, the decision to just walk away from a job.
So don't pay me.
Excuse me?
I quit.
The decision to make money the way that you want to make it. And he craves that. Lester wants to have his old life again. He wants to take control of his life. He wants to feel young again. This is manifested in his attraction to a teenage girl. It's manifested in him yanking on his yonker, smoking weed, buying a sports car, wanting to work at Smiley's. The dude wants to go back to Smiley's. It's a full psychological regression. And then we have Ricky, who is almost like a precursor to Lester. He is going through this love story of falling in love with a young woman and being attracted to her and seeing how funny she is and seeing the beauty in how ordinary she is. Which is kind of funny because, of course, the whole movie is kind of like a pun on the ordinary and the deeper meaning behind the ordinary. And so Ricky is this precursor to Lester. Lester is actually craving and wanting more attention from his wife, Carolyn, and he can't get it. And he asks her directly,
"Whatever happened to that girl? Have you totally forgotten about her? Because I haven't."
And I think Lester sees that in Ricky, because Ricky is young, he's got his whole life ahead of him, but he's falling in love, which is exactly what Lester did. Lester fell in love and started a life for himself, started a family, and then for some reason, he kind of turns at some point, and this love and excitement for the future begins to decay, and it evolves into apathy and a hatred for his current identity and current life situation. And so I really like this juxtaposition of these two characters that start to become good friends. It's like they are long lost friends, that they've known each other for a really long time, but they're meeting for the first time. It's unfortunate that Lester is only able to realize what he truly cherishes moments before he dies. He kind of rebels against his family, against his job, and it's not until the end of the movie that he finally realizes why he made the choices that he made, and that it was worth it, and that it was beautiful. But when he was living it, he couldn't see it. It's like his vision was clouded. And there's an opportunity for growth with Lester. There's an opportunity to realize that what is right before you is exactly what you chose, and it's exactly what you need right now. You could grow. You could change into some better version of yourself if you would allow yourself to do that. And that reminds me of a quote by Carl Jung that says, "Your life's greatest problems cannot be solved. They can only be outgrown." And that quote is so poignant for this movie because everyone in the movie is scrambling to alter their identity. They are scrambling to grasp at something, like solve this problem of unworthiness, solve this problem of apathy, solve this problem of a lack of perfection, solve this problem of I'm not who I actually want to be. But maybe those problems can't be solved. Maybe they are not meant to be solved. They are only meant to be outgrown. We get to witness the unfolding of the fruits of desire. We get to witness the unfolding of the fruits of identity crisis and wondering who we are and why we are in the life that we are in. And ultimately, it's not so bad, but it takes us a while to get there to understand that. We're introduced to these different characters: Carolyn Burnham, Jane Burnham, Colonel Fitz, Ricky Fitz, Barbara Fitz, and Angela Hayes. So we get this insight into these different lives, and each of them has a hollow desire that they think is good for them. That's the interesting thing. It's the belief that this desire is what will make them whole again. So we've got Caroline, who desires perfection and the illusion of success, and she pins that on Buddy Kane. And even once we get to know Buddy Kane, we realize that even his life is not as it seems. He doesn't have the perfect life. He doesn't have the perfect wife. And then we have Jane, the teenager, who basically hates everything. I think that's just because she's a teenager. She hates her body. She hates her parents. She doesn't want any attention from them, but she does want attention from someone. And then we've got Angela Hayes. Angela will do anything to not be normal. She wants to feel special. She desires to be desired. Ricky is living a dual life. Colonel Fitz is wishing he could live a dual life, but instead he is as closeted gay as they come, living a rigid structure of duty on the external world that creates a wife that is despondent and catatonic. And so we have all these characters with empty desires. They are all hoping for something to complete them, to make them whole. And that really is the beauty of American Beauty. It is absolutely this thorny, nothing is as it seems type of story, but it leads Lester towards redemption. And really it leads Lester to sacrifice. I don't know if Lester is ultimately redeemed. He is redeemed in the sense that he begins to remember what he loved about his life. At the end of the movie, when he begins describing how his life flashed before his eyes.
Watching falling stars. And Janie. Carolyn.
He has a full grounding and a remembrance of the things that mattered most to him and why he chose the path that he chose. And he crawls out of the hollow existence that he had carved out for himself. And he becomes a compassionate redeemer for those around him. We have these two major acts of compassion that Lester is able to show for other characters in the film. The first one is for Colonel Fitz in the third act of the movie, when Colonel Fitz comes into the garage completely drenched and gets the wrong impression about Lester and his family and what is really going on. And this scene is incredibly pivotal because it appears as though Lester's heart is stirred and awakened again, but it's not in a desirous way. It is in a way that you love your children or you love something that is helpless. And that is what Lester affords Colonel Fitz. He doesn't suffer an ego blow when this gay man kisses him on the lips and squeezes his back. Normally a straight man would be incredibly upset about that. But Lester doesn't do that. He calmly tells Colonel Fitz that there's been a misunderstanding. And then the second act of compassion is as Angela's hollow desire to be desired is made fully manifest and put on display for the audience to see, Lester is able to calm his own desires when it is revealed to him that Angela has actually been faking this whole time. She's not this woman that she pretends to be. And he's so gentle and sweet with her, and he reminds her that she is special no matter what. And it's this reassurance and this compassion that really unlocks Angela's true form. Her facade falls, and she's no longer this girl who is an attention whore. And unfortunately, the act of compassion is not enough for Colonel Fitz's situation. He projects frequently in the film his own distaste for himself, so to speak, his own distaste for his own homosexuality. And because he won't allow himself to be who he truly is, he has to murder the person who is finally being who they truly are, which is Lester. Because your ideal is always a judge. The thing that you look up to and admire the most will always make you feel inadequate. It'll make you feel small. It will make you feel like you're not good enough. But it simultaneously gives us something to aim at, something to look for, and to be a guiding light. And so it's unfortunate that Colonel Fitz feels so incredibly judged by this person who is embracing who they truly are. And because he feels this judgment so deeply, he projects that into his own reality and has to commit a murder in order to get back into control, get back into that false sense of duty that we see so frequently throughout the movie. And with this murder, Jane is released. She gets what she wishes for. She wanted her dad to be put out of his misery. And I don't know if that's a child's unconscious knowing of their parents' pain. Maybe she sensed it in some way. But she's also kind of being selfish, wanting to have some sort of identity outside of her parents. She's really trying to come into her own and be her own person. And with her dad out of the picture, she gets that opportunity. She has the opportunity to move to New York with Ricky and start a new life. And after Lester dies, we also see the redemption of Carolyn. Carolyn throws the gun into the clothes hamper and collapses into the closet. She relinquishes the power that she used to control her husband and her daughter, to force them to be perfect, to be what she thought that they should be, rather than allowing them to be their own individual person. And I haven't talked much about Ricky. Ricky is a pivotal character. I do think in some ways Ricky is a projection of the writers of the movie. Ricky is kind of like this meta observer. He's this meta storyteller who is filming the ordinary in a movie that is about the ordinary. But he sees the beauty in it. He sees how joyous it is, and it's almost too much for him to bear. It fills his heart, and it feels like it's gonna cave in. And there's not really a lot that Ricky seems to desire. He seems to be kind of living his life the way that he wants to. Although he does have a facade because of his controlling father, he has to be a certain way to fit into the world, but he still finds a way to be himself, even though he has to do it in a sneaky way. And so now I want to talk about the other theory that I have about the movie. In the beginning, Lester is narrating his life or the events that are about to unfold. He does it again in the second act of the movie, and he does it again in the third act. And each time this scene is introduced with the camera flying above, which could be interpreted as Lester flying above, and he's narrating something about his life, about the events that are unfolding, and implying what is going to happen. What you're actually watching in the movie is Lester's life flashing before his eyes. He's already dead. It's like a Sixth Sense type of scenario, but a little less dramatic. Lester goes on this journey as his life flashes before his eyes, and he gets to witness all of these people in his life again. He gets to witness his life unfolding to help him understand why he is the way that he is and why his life ended up the way that it did. And this is further driven home by the fact that Lester repeats a quote that Ricky uses earlier in the movie about beauty. And now he doesn't say it verbatim, but it's almost as if he's trying to remember what he witnessed as his life was flashing before his eyes. Because Ricky says that there's so much beauty that he feels like his heart is going to cave in. And then at the very end of the movie, as Lester's spirit is leaving his body, and we're zooming out from this universe that we've been witnessing, Lester says that there is so much beauty that his heart is feeling like a balloon and that it could burst. He gets to witness all of the beauty in the life that he found himself in. He gets to see these other characters in the movie express their own happiness in a different way, in the same way that he was trying to express his own happiness and take control of his own life. He gets to see that in the scene with Ricky and Lester after Lester has been shot and he's laying, his head is on the table and he has a slight smile, and Ricky turns his head to the side and looks at Lester in the eyes, and he sees the beauty that he mentions earlier in the movie.
What's amazing about it?
When you see something like that, it's like God is looking right at you, just for a second. And if you're careful, you can look right back.
And what do you see?
Beauty.
It's almost as if he sees God behind Lester's eyes. He sees the forces at work. He sees the plastic bag. He sees the spirit manifests. Maybe it's leaving Lester's body. That makes me wonder for myself, is there anything in my life that I need to outgrow? And I would ask you the same thing. Is there anything in your life that you need to outgrow? Is there anything that you desire that you're afraid to admit to yourself? And then the follow-up question to that would be, are those desires leading you down a pathway that you do not want to go down? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time and attention. This video was a lot of fun to make. It was so much fun to analyze American Beauty and talk about it and get to know these characters and try to formulate my own thoughts and think about my own life and see myself in these characters. And I hope that this video has helped you maybe see yourself in those characters and helped you find some understanding for your life as well. I want to thank everyone for watching this video. This has been an episode of Rewatch, where we take a look at movies and television shows and think about the symbolism and the psychology and the philosophy around those films and TV shows. I hope that you found this video enjoyable and insightful. If you have an opinion about American Beauty, or you have something to say about what was presented here, maybe you have a differing opinion or you don't agree with what I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas in the comments down below. And until the next time, I hope everyone is doing well out there. Please hit that thumbs up button if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all on the next one.